further ado, I'm going to invite our third and final board members to the front. It's Phil and Josh from Zest Property Group.
So obviously Dan's asked us to come and speak today a little bit about what we've learned on the programme. There will be snippets that you'll take away from, there's some similar material that we're going to kind of reiterate from Paul and Kevin, because it's just so valuable, such valuable content that we've applied to our business. Who has seen us speak before? Anybody? A few at the, I'm not as famous as we thought, brilliant. So a few of you have, not many, which is great, but what we like to really do is give you as much value as possible. We'd much rather get through 20%, 25% of our presentation, but you're all asking questions and really getting the value you want out of it than get through the whole thing. So feel free to ask questions at any point, engage with us. I think we're relatively friendly people, and hopefully you can get as much content as value out of as you can. So I'm going to get us started. And this is Phil, by the way. Hey guys. So who are we? We are Phil and Josh, as you already know. And we run 3 companies. We run Zest Property Management. Now this is, we're based up in Greater Manchester, for those of you who don't know, based up in the north. Neither of us are actually from there, but that's where we like to work. We are Zest Property Management is a specialist HMO letting agency, so we specialise in high-end professional house shares. That was born out of the fact that we couldn't really find, similar to what Paul said, we couldn't really find a letting agency that could do the job for us. We run Zest Portfolio Builder as well. So Portfolio Builder was an actual plug-in to Zest Property Management. That's where we source HMO properties for investors. We renovate them, then we pass them on to Zest Property Management. Typically, our clients tend to be time poor, experience poor, but relatively cash rich. There's a lot of people down in the south, down in London, that are kind of putting equity out of houses and wanting to invest into the powerhouse of the north. And lastly, we've got Maintenance, Maple and Construction. Sorry, Maple, Maintenance and Construction. This is our kind of newest venture. It's a maintenance company which currently just services the Zest Property Management portfolio. But something we're going to be launching in 2018 and make it a little bit bigger. So I'm going to pass you on to Phil to give you a bit of background about our company history and how we got started.
You're going to continue working the clicker?
Yeah.
Okay, you keep control. So, I did Mastermind 3 back in the day, so there's not too many familiar faces from back then, but I do recognise some of you guys. And hands up here, anybody who is the only person that's currently in their business, the only person that's running their business at the moment, who's just themselves running everything, okay? So those people who haven't put their hands up, I'm assuming you were there at one point. We've all kind of been there at some point. We start on Mastermind, we get really enthused, we start buying property, we get really excited, we start heading towards the goals, much same as Paul was saying at the beginning. We head on towards this vision of financial freedom and a nice, easier, stress-free life. We're going to have these properties, going to be cracking, loads of money coming in. And it's, in reality, very, very different when you start getting your first properties on and you have to start dealing with the issues and the problems, and acquiring all the skill sets that you need, not just to then acquire property, but then to manage them. And this is the situation I was in after finishing Mastermind. I'd acquired a number of properties, and I was quite happy with where I was, and I was having a wee bit of money, but I had no time at all. And all the novelty and excitement and all the initial challenges started wearing off, and what I was left with was the daily grind and the soul-sucking hassle that often comes with properties. Not that I had bad tenants, I had wonderful tenants, but at this point I was finding properties, trawling Rightmove, negotiating them, going and viewing them. At that point I was actually on the tools as well, doing it myself. I wanted to know how to put windows in and how to lay a laminate floor, so YouTube can teach you absolutely anything, so don't be scared of that. In addition to that, I was also finding out what I should write in adverts to advertise the rooms. I was finding out where I should advertise them. I was then tweaking the adverts, learning as I went. I was then fielding all the phone calls, speaking to the tenants, vetting them, finding out what you're supposed to do with vetting, finding out what you're supposed to actually have with an AST, what's supposed to be in it, what's not supposed to be in it, where I can get one from, tweaking it, making it your own. Literally everything. Chasing arrears, kicking people out, finding other mentors. Every single thing that you need to do in a property business and more I was doing myself, and I had reached the point where I was no longer had the motivation to push myself to do things I didn't want to do, and also things that I'm not naturally good at doing, and I didn't have any time to do the things that I wanted to do, that the money that I was getting, quite a lot of money at the time, was actually giving me the freedom to do. I didn't have the time to be able to take advantage of that. And I was very, very tired and very, very close to just going, I can't handle this anymore. Originally, I didn't bring anybody else in because I didn't think anybody else could do the job better than me. I'm sure one or two of us also feel the same, that nobody else can do the job better than we can. We were having the chat this morning. But we reached this point where even a monkey could have done the job better than I could. So I realized that I needed a wee bit of help. And when the student is ready, the teacher appears. I don't even remember how I actually heard about Dan Hill. It must have been through one of his amazing marketing channels. But somehow we ended up on the phone. I remember sitting in Costa Coffee chatting to Dan, having a little conversation about it, where I wanted to go, what I needed to do. And at this point, my aspirations were that I wanted to increase my turnover and increase my net profit. I had three distinct goals. Turnover, profit. I wanted to make my portfolio 100% legal and 100% bulletproof to remove the stress and pressure of you get a phone call from someone or a knock on the door and you're not quite sure which store you've told that person or which address you're supposed to be living at or which mortgage product you've got that one on and which one you haven't. So I wanted to have it all absolutely bulletproof so that nothing could take it away and it was all solid and I could just relax and chill out. And the third and most important one was I wanted to free myself up from 95% of the daily activity within the company. And those were my three very, very distinct goals that I had when I met Dan. Dan very quickly identified that the very first thing I need to do was to establish a team, much as the guys have talked about. And I went about doing exactly that, followed exactly what he told me to do, went out and found the team. Josh and I had already met a number of years earlier when Josh was a student, and I asked him to come in as a bit of work experience and help me create some kind of spreadsheet. Didn't even know how to open Excel, let alone work it. So Josh was helping. But the very, very important distinction is Josh didn't know how to do it either, but YouTube can teach you all sorts of things, and he had the gumption to go in and actually find out. He's now an absolute wizard on it. It's insane. But you make from it what you want, any opportunity. And we very quickly expanded up to a team of three. I then ran into a lovely lady called Alex in a networking event, in one of the PIN events, who stood up and said that she wanted a bit of experience in lettings. So all the pieces kind of fell into place because I was looking for it and my RAS was turned on. My strategy for the year was via rent to rent because I needed to increase my turnover very, very quickly to be able to pay the people that had come on to help free myself up from the business. So rent to rent, as far as I saw at the time, was the best way of doing that. In addition to that, I was also sweating my own portfolio and turning those properties which were appropriate to do so into multi-lets. And then when we got to a year later, we had tripled in size. My turnover had indeed tripled. My net profit had doubled, so we were able to cover the overheads and things. My portfolio was 100% legal and 100% bulletproof, so the stress and pressure had been taken off me considerably. And the most important, which was being able to free myself up from 95% of the day to day, was answered by the fact that I was just begging for one day off. That's all I wanted, just one day off without phone calls, let alone a weekend, let alone a week. And this all culminated in me going to Vegas for 3 weeks with my family. And all I ended up doing was responding to 2 emails for the entire time. And that was only because I was buying a property at the time, which I hadn't handed over to anybody else. So from being absolutely mad, busy, on my own, lonely, bored, not enjoying it, to working with 2 incredibly high potential individuals, having a great time in Vegas with my family, having a great time, was quite an achievement in my first year, and I was delighted with that. Thank you. Decided to go around the track again because I thought, well, if this is what I've done in the first year, just watch what's coming next. So we went around the track again, and then we decided that we were going to continue scaling it. In actual fact, this is when Zest Property Management was formalized. Up until that point, it was just really a way of managing my own portfolio, as many of us have already done. We decided then to start taking on an awful lot of other people's properties as a way of increasing the turnover, and also there was nobody else really doing it, so kind of first mover advantage, and also being able to build a good net asset. We created Zest Portfolio Builder purely out of ease, really, because we had all of the pieces of the puzzle sitting there right in front of us. And we had so many people coming from London, very, very switched on investors, who just didn't have the time. They were very, very busy in their careers. They're very happy doing what they're doing, but they just wanted to be able to release the money they were releasing from their properties in London with their ridiculous growth down there, and put it into something else where they had potential more legs for growth in Manchester, which was starting to kind of grumbles around about the northern powerhouse, as well as getting the much better yield. So then we formalised Zest Portfolio Builder to be able to provide that service, and we were in a very, very unique situation in that because we had the lettings business, we knew very, very well what would let and what wouldn't let. So we were in a very unique situation to be able to advise people, this is a very, very good area. If these are the kind of tenants you want to manage, you want to buy in these areas, avoid these kind of areas. It was quite a unique selling point from all the other people who were doing sourcing at the time. Then we get to May 2016, everything's rocking and rolling. We expanded the team further. We brought on Toby and also a lettings person to take Josh out of the equation of doing the lettings. And everything was absolutely flying. We're doing brilliantly. I then got some bad news and had some health issues and ended up stepping out of the company until January or so of next year. And within that time, if Josh clicks the next slide, you will see that it actually probably did better without me than with me. It's very, very offending. But it's very, very reassuring to know that the company had started actually taking on a life of its own, whereas it had kind of all been born out of my little baby, and now it's starting to take on a life of its own. It's very, very exciting and a bit disconcerting as well when you see something start taking on a life of its own. As Josh mentioned, then Maple Maintenance Construction was created, kind of in answer to the forthcoming admin fee ban, to create an additional revenue stream. And in addition to that, because we couldn't find another company that could keep the high level of service that we were guaranteeing to our landlords. So we wanted to bring that in-house as an additional revenue stream, and also so we can control the speed and the accuracy with which we're doing those things, and to quieten down the noise of complaints from tenants. All the growth was going absolutely perfectly. We set our business plan. We knew exactly where we were going. Everything was 100% on schedule. And then, as a result of all of the phenomenal seeds that Josh had been sowing during the spring, they all kind of came to flower at the same time. Both a blessing and a curse, a bit of a victim of our own success. So we had two options. We either went, this is not within our plan, we're growing a bit too quickly, or we take on the challenge. What basically happened was we had a growth from July of another 70 rooms within our growth plan, and all those 70 rooms landed in the 1 month. So we had a quick call, a crisis call with Dan, said, what do we do? He said, it's landed at exactly the right time, summer, make hay. So we decided to take on the challenge, and we are only about 6 days away from finishing. Yeah, 6 days away from finishing. And Josh being very, very prolific on social media, putting that out there. I'm sure you can find, when connect with us at the end, and you can follow that journey. So it's been a really, really great campaign for us, how to fill 70 rooms in 12 weeks. And the team have absolutely pulled the stops out, and everyone's pulled together. It's been absolutely phenomenal. And we are pretty much set to smash the living daylights out of that target. So we're only 6 days left, and then we're off on a lovely little retreat with the team to reward everyone for such amazing work and stuff. So
we'll give you the details of social media then, but it's worth looking at that just because it's a very honest account. It's not, oh yeah, it was easy, we smashed all this, smashed all that. It's all the blood, sweat and the tears gone into it, all the mistakes we've made. It's, for any of you that are looking to start your own HMO letting agency or scaling your portfolio, it's a real honest account of how hard it can be to achieve something like that. And we'll share all of everything we can, very open book. So it's worth looking up.
Boo-hoo, Josh, boo-hoo. So, in the same way as everyone else has covered off the 5 big game-changing points, we just wanted to tell you what our 5 were. Now, obviously, some are going to be already have been covered in some capacity by the other guys, but this is our account and our point of view, so we wanted to share these with you. I'm assuming when I did Mastermind, they didn't have wealth dynamics within the program. I think you guys do it standard within the program now, don't you? Yeah. So you have a very, very good understanding of wealth dynamics. I had heard of it, but I'd never actually experienced it or discussed it, or I didn't know what I was at the time. This is one of the things that Dan suggested we did from those first 3 or 4 months within the program when I started, was to build the team, because that was going to be key for me to be able to step out of the business and be able to start working on it, as we all want to do, to be able to then hit those targets that I'd set for myself. So we had to set up the team to begin with, and this is something that will be covered in much greater detail during your own program over the next year. But very, very overview, we needed 3 positions, I was taking the position as the creative star. Actually, out of interest, who here is kind of creative star, top right corner? Okay. So I took on the role of the driver in the company. I was driving the business forward. But then what I needed to do was I needed to have somebody delivering the business. Who here is kind of more down the bottom right-hand corner, supporter, trader role, okay? So you need to put somebody into that role as well to be able to actually take forward the conversations with the tenants and to actually do the viewings and those kind of elements of the business. And then the final piece of the puzzle for me, which I definitely did not have, was the detail, which is down the kind of Lord, mechanic, accumulator route. Who in the room is mechanic-y type people? Wonderful. I do not get it at all. Don't get it at all. Anyway, but those three pieces of the puzzle, when they came together, absolutely game-changing for me because I had myself driving the business forward, playing to my own strengths, working within my own wheelhouse. I then had Josh working on the delivery side of actually implementing the business and taking it all forward and making sure it all works on the ground. And then we had Alex in the background doing all detail work, the accounts, all the books, making sure that everything is reconciled and squared away. And that was massively game-changing for me, massive. In actual fact, we had you in the wrong places. And the other thing that Wealth Dynamics does is it opens up a dialogue of a similar conversation, of a similar language, I beg your pardon. In fact, Dan touched on it a wee while ago, that some of the terms and phrases that we're using might be a bit alien now to you, but within a year it'll be a common vocabulary between all of you. And that's another huge benefit of working with the friends at the back, is that you speak a common language, so you're able to discuss things much more quickly, much more effectively as a common language that you've learned throughout your program. But the Wealth Dynamics, Josh was actually coming in to do the detail work as a chartered accountant, as he was when I met him. And Alex was coming into the lettings, said she wanted to do the lettings. And then we did the Wealth Dynamics just out of interest and found out, in actual fact, totally in the wrong positions. Luckily, they would just be swapped over, and after that, we just absolutely flew. So it makes a massive difference, everyone playing to their strengths. You can learn the behaviors. Josh had learned to become a very good accountant, but it wasn't really where he flew. And when he shifted across to something that was much more in his comfort zone, he took off. Thanks, Josh. Seasons is something being talked about quite a bit today already. Dan touched on it a wee bit earlier. We run a lettings business at this time, so it follows very, very smoothly with that, in that you take the race car out on the track during the summer and you're flogging it around the track, absolutely shredding the tires, seeing how quickly you can get round, having a great old time, sales in the lettings business. And then you start coming into autumn time, when you start listening to the grumblings of the engine, start thinking about if the steering's a wee bit soft, if I need slicks or if I need something a bit more grippy. And then you come into winter time when you can bring the car into the pit stop. And then you fix all the things that you've identified during autumn that you want to address, because it's a wee bit quieter in the lettings business, so you've got a little bit more headspace to be able to take the time to do that. And then once you've done that, you're ready, the car's all shiny again, ready to rock and roll, you take it out on the track, you start going around the track, get familiar with it again, starting to warm the tires up, test everything's all right. If anything's not quite right and it's a quick, easy fix, you can tweak it, but apart from that, you're out, and then summer hits again, and you're around the track flogging it again. And that was massive for me, because my brain is really all over the place, and it helped to create a real structure for the erratic thinking that I had. I was really full of ideas and exciting things, and I'd just drop them wherever I had the idea. So I'd start fixing things in the middle of summer when you're inundated with lots and lots of lettings and sales, and you should be growing the business, not fixing back office. And it was really good to know that it was going to be addressed, but I'd put a pin in it and address it when it came time to autumn and then winter again. That was a massive game changer for me.
So third element, which has been an absolute game changer for us, is this concept of nothing can be arbitrary. No one's going to mention this today, but it's been absolutely massive for us, and we've taken so much out of it. So first, you've got to get clarity over the numbers that you have within your business. If you don't have accounting packs or anything like that, you've got to get real clarity over where you're at. And then you've got to really kind of use KPI statistics and numbers to really plan where you're going to go. I mean, the kind of concept, the classic example of being arbitrary, like who here said, when they started, they go, right, I want to get 10 HMOs, I want £10,000 a month passive income. Yeah, I've seen some smiling faces. That's what everyone does. It's an arbitrary, oh yeah, that's what I want to do, that's what I want to get out of it. And we were doing the same. We were setting, right, we want to get to 300 rooms this year. And then we'd actually look at all the numbers and actually realise, well, actually, if we go to 300 rooms, knowing our capacity, we're going to have to bring a new member of the team on. So there's no benefit to going adding that extra 50 because we're having to pay for somebody else in the office to manage them. And it's kind of absolutely game-changing when you start thinking like that. You start looking at all the capacity and realising big is not always better. And it's much better to get to a size which you know is the right level, number of HMOs that you know is the right level, but you're also going to be able to manage and not create yourself a massive job as a result of it. So nothing can be arbitrary is one of the things we've really learned, and we've really built that into our business model going forward. Another element is kind of growth mindset. I mean, Paul put a quote from Jim Rohn on the board this morning. Who here listens to Anthony Robbins, Jim Rohn in the mornings when they wake up? Yeah, everybody. It's very easy to listen to, isn't it? You have that 10, 15 minutes and you come out of that feeling exhilarated. Oh, that was amazing. I've got all this motivation now. It's absolutely fantastic. But how easy is it to apply? When you have one of those really crappy days where you've got, I wanted to go out and buy all these properties, you've got you're managing 5 refurbs at the same time, and you're absolutely manic, doing absolutely everything. You've got trades pulling out at the last minute, and then your investor for your new project pulls out at the last minute. How easy is it to then go, oh, this is all good, this is all part of the process, this is great, I'm learning from this. It's not easy, it's really, really challenging. A big part of being on that board with the rest of the fellow board members is a classic example which Phil mentioned. That growth mindset starts to become embedded with you because it is discipline. You have to have discipline to really get that in you and turn every problem into a nice little challenge. A big part of what we did was with this 70 rooms challenge, the initial thought was, oh my God, what in hell are we going to do? We said yes to all these landlords, we didn't plan for it all to happen at this time. It's a massive problem. Having the conversation with Dan, speaking to everybody in the board, going, this isn't a problem, this is a great thing to be doing, this is a fantastic bit. And the business is going to grow to a level, and we're all going to learn so much out of this process that it's going to be absolutely game-changing for us, and we've come out a lot better for it. So it really helps you kind of tweak your mindset and really get you in the G'd up and actually utilising all these motivational videos and stuff like that in your actual mindset and in your day-to-day helps you apply it.
And front-loading forward funding. Front-loading, essentially, the largest part of front-loading that you'll experience over autumn and coming into winter is planning out your business plan for the entire year, as Dan mentioned. That's the absolute epitome of front-loading. You decided through the non-arbitrary figures exactly where you want to go to, why you want to go there, and then you then work it back from there. And every single step along the way is planned out and written down and committed to and created and cemented into your business plan. It might as well be written out of stone, like one of the Moses tablets. And then you just absolutely execute against that. And the reason for doing that is that when you're absolutely mad busy in all the mayhem, or a shiny penny comes along, or somebody else drops in and says, oh, you could do this, it's going to be like a really, really quick hit for you. You've got this money come out, you just deploy it here for 2 months, and then you can jump back in again. It's really, really easy to get sidetracked. But if you are front-loaded, then you're already committed. So you've done all of the work of the beginning. In addition to that, one of the main parts of your business plan will be your marketing strategy. One of those might be an email strategy that you have for landlord lists, which have been exhausted by absolutely everybody. But if you were still doing that, you could decide you're going to send out a series of letters or a series of emails. Now, previously to this program, I would have gone, yeah, that's a great idea, let's do that, write the first one, put it out, right, it's 2 weeks later, time to put the next one out. But then I would have had 5 refurbs drop in my lap and I'm going, oh God, so it had gone out a couple of days late. And then it might have been a bit rushed and I might have missed some key points. And you start to lose momentum. When you front load it, you write all of that marketing campaign right at the very beginning, right in the winter period, so that when you come time to execute, just click a button and it's all automated. You don't have to think about it. And you can spend your time then capturing all the leads and all the benefits which you should be spending your time doing, which is the whole purpose of putting that marketing campaign out there. In addition to that forward funding, sometimes you have to accept, I think it was Dan said at the very beginning, or Kevin, that you're going to have to start recruiting some people if you want to scale and you want to grow. And it's really painful when you take on that massive overhead at the beginning and that person's not yet up to speed, or you don't have the need for that much capacity where you're going. But you recruit for where you're going to, you don't recruit for where you are now. So sometimes that means taking a painful decision to take on somebody at 26 grand a year when they're actually only probably able to utilize half of their time, but you know that when you get to where you're going to at the end of the year, their salary's going to be more covered and more, and then you're going to be in a much stronger position to go forward. So that's the benefit of forward funding and also front loading. So our time on the board, I see my friend.
No worries. So really, really important for this element that you're going to do, and it's not just for property entrepreneur, what you're going to be doing for the next year on the graduate program, is be really clear what you wanted to get out of it. As Phil reeled off his elements at the start, and he mentioned that you had three really kind of important set goals. We, for the last couple of years on Property Entrepreneur, it's all been about growth and it's been about recruitment. And as for Phil, it's been kind of taking himself out of the business. There's 3 really kind of clear objectives, and we've executed that really, really well. Property Entrepreneur provides you a methodology. You've got to apply it to what you'll be doing yourselves and make sure that it aligns with the goals and what you want to achieve. Does that make sense? Yeah. Secondly, trust the process. I think a few people have alluded to the pain that you go through in certain seasons and some of the bits where you can't see how this is going to work. We talked about 2 of the board members challenge each other. When I think it's Mark would go home and speak to his wife and she'd go, what are you talking about? It's very, very challenging. You've really got to trust the process. All these things like seasons and systemization and springtime planting seeds all sounds like nonsense at the start. But you've got to absolutely trust the process because it does really, really work. When you're in your winter season and the guys are telling you, oh, it's winter now, you're not out to make sales, you're in here to systemize. You're sitting there thinking, I could be out here making 3 or 4 grand, or bringing another sale and bringing another landlord on. You've really got to trust it because everything you do in winter, which you're not necessarily going to enjoy, the steels amongst you, the lords amongst you are going to really enjoy it, but the dynamos amongst you are going to hate that period. You want to be out and speaking and chatting to people. You've got to trust it and embrace it. And unless you do that, you won't make as much of it as you could do.
Accountability, I don't think, is a problem for many of the people in this room, although we all have moments of weakness where you just go, I just can't get off the sofa. I'll just finish off watching X Factor or Hawaii Five-0, whatever's on telly. We all have moments of just going, I just can't be bothered today. It's just hard. I don't want to make that phone call. That deal that's a wee bit beyond where I am at the moment is a bit scary. It's easier to put it off than to make the difficult phone call or to crunch the numbers late at night when all you want to do is put on your pajamas and cuddle up or whatever. You need to have accountability because although we're all very driven and motivated in this room, which is why we are where we are, you will have moments where you go, oh, blimey heck. And having a room of people, as you have now, that you trust and respect and admire, that you need to say very clearly what you intend to achieve and what you intend to do, and you lay it all out on the table, there's nowhere to hide. You don't want to be the person that turns up the next month going, yeah, I didn't quite do that. Not that anyone's going to openly berate you. I mean, they'll slag you off behind your back, but they're not going to openly berate you, but it's yourself. And the other aspect that I think Paul alluded to was be absolutely 100% true to your word, because the accountability, just imagine how accountable you need to be when somebody else's salary depends on you executing on what you said you're going to do. There's nothing that's going to hold you more than that. It's absolutely phenomenally powerful. It really is.
I think another lesson from accountability that we've done this year is, Paul's talked about it, he's talked about his 200 room campaign. It's been all over social media. This is what I'm going to do. We did it with our How to Fill 70 Rooms in 12 weeks. The first thing we did was, even when we were terrified of the challenge, we stood up and we said to Manchester Pin, this is what we're going to do. We told everybody, and then instantly you become accountable for it, and we've just delivered against that because we've had to. Otherwise it's a very public failure to us.
This is a massive, massive one for me.
Mr. Kevin Edge there with his award.
Yes, look at him.
Plug it again for him while he's not here.
He's so jet set. He had to leave to another meeting. You see, he's not even here to hear it all.
Now we're India.
To be kind to yourself, I think, is massive, really, really huge. And this is, I think we're all guilty here of being really hard on ourselves because we are driven, we are focused, and we want to achieve, and we want to set the world alight and leave a legacy and all these kind of things. But what I would ask you to do, and what's really, really good for me, is remember that you're choosing to be here. You're choosing to play a bigger game. And it's really hard to berate yourself and to feel really guilty that you're not achieving. So acknowledge that what you have now in your lives and who you are now as a person is enough. And you're absolutely brilliant. But you've chosen to put yourself in this environment and create comfortable self-induced accountability to put yourself out of your comfort zone because you want to do more or you want to achieve more. So with that, though, becomes freedom because you're able to then go, yes, I've not quite hit that, or I've not quite done a £2 million deal as my fellow board member has done. However, I'm really comfortable where I am and where I am in the journey. I've done a fantastic job. So it relieves the guilt and it makes the journey much, much more enjoyable. You're choosing to be here. And the final thing is, where I speed up a wee bit, is your network. Being in an environment with people who you trust, admire, and respect is absolutely phenomenal because they're all on a different part of the journey. They all have different experiences, different skill sets. And when you're pushing yourself out of your comfort zone, it's fantastic to know that somebody who else has been there before you or is a few steps ahead of you in that particular aspect is there to be able to call on and say, I need a bit of help here, or I've thrown myself at the deep end. I've gone and taken 70 rooms on in a month. What do I do? And it's great to have somebody that's able to do that for you. In addition to that, we're able to also be there for our friends and colleagues in the property entrepreneur and also in the board as well. So it's really, really hugely beneficial to have that network and that powerful surrounding support. This, as we've already said, was my main goal initially, stepping out of the business. Who here, probably going to be just me having my hand up, who here thinks they could realistically, guilt-free, no question of a phone call or an issue or problem, take a day out of their business? Who thinks they could? Keep your hands up if you think you could take a weekend out with no problems. Keep your hands up if you think you could take a week out. Literally no problems, no guilt, no problems, no hassle, no concerns. A few went down. Keep your hands up if you think you could take 3 weeks out without any problems, any concerns. Fantastic. Keep your hands up if you think you could take a year out with no hassles, no problems. Fantastic, good job. And in addition to that, not only hope that your company's going to be there when you turn around again in a year's time, but it's actually grown and it's probably doubled or tripled in size. And it's leaving a legacy to protect your family and provide for them and to make a real difference in the world. That's what being involved with Dan Hill has meant for me in my business. It's provided me that security and knowing they're going to make a difference in the world. Whether I get hit by a bus outside, or whether I decide to never come back to the company, or whether I decide to start a new venture, it runs anyway. And that, for me, is absolute game-changing.
Secondly, we've experienced some phenomenal growth. We tripled in our first year, we doubled again the year after that, and then we just more than doubled again in our third year. We've just done this in the last year, 109 to 254 rooms in a year. It's not been about its challenges, but it's been one of our biggest successes, the rate of growth that we've managed to achieve over the last few years, which has been really exceptional. And a big part of that has been going through the Property Entrepreneur Programme, doing as Dan said, the elastic. Just keep doing that and following the seasons has been absolute game-changing for us. We wouldn't have achieved it without it.
And attracting talent is the other final thing. Zest now has a reputation and it has credibility. We're market leaders in Greater Manchester. We're the largest and also the best, in our opinion, and many others, in Greater Manchester. And we're very, very proud of what we do. The product that we have and the service that we provide is second to none, and it's absolutely phenomenal. And as a result of that, we no longer have to go fishing and trying to hook in a tenant or a landlord or an investor or a team member or a mentor. These people start to get attracted to you. And it's really, really been phenomenal for us to start moving to become a magnet with a really good reputation that stands for something that other people want to get involved with, having a really clear identity of what our why is, so people get attracted to us as opposed to us having to go and do the hard work and try and reel in each individual person and hope that people don't see the fact that we're faking it in the background and putting like bugger underneath and they want to come and work for us. It's been absolutely phenomenal.
So what's next for us? I think some of you may know Manchester property market is booming at the moment. There's so much investment going to Manchester. If you go yourselves, you'll see loads of cranes all over the place. There's loads of government initiatives going into it, so it's just absolutely rocketing. So for us, we're really trying to capitalise on that market. We're taking no more landlords 2017 for Zest Property Management. As you've seen, we did the year's worth of growth and we're stopping that now because we're only built for 255 rooms. So we're stopping that now for a little short period of time. But as a result of all that growth, Zest Property Management, because we thought it was going to be a much more staggered approach, as any sane human being would expect, over the next 6 months, we've got a bit more capacity for Portfolio Builder. So we've got no space in 2017, but 2018, we've now got another 3 to 5 spaces for investors that want to invest up north in Greater Manchester. So we're looking for more investors. We've got some deal packs on our website. So if anyone's interested in the kind of returns, whether you're interested in Portfolio Builder or just looking at more HMO deals, we're happy to share them with you. Just come and give me a business card at the back. Thank you very much, I guess. We're Zest Property Group. You can contact us on Phil and Josh at zestpropertymanagement.co.uk. Feel free to take a picture of this site so you've got all the details. And you can also get us on Facebook at Zest Property Management, Zest Property Manchester and Zest Portfolio Builder. If you want to like and follow us on there, we share a lot of valuable, what we think is valuable content, and you're all welcome to follow us and share the journey. So thank you very much.